I want to thank Alicia, Cradling Death, Ajmal, Rosen, and Eric B. for sending in your true scary haunted location stories. I had to use some tips to get their names because they're pretty interesting names today. Anyways, guys, if you guys have any of your own true scary haunted locations, whether it be from your house to school to the company, like these stories that we're going to be doing today, put in the comments below, or better yet, send me an email. Whole email, your own true scary stories, and it will be featured on my YouTube channel. We're gonna do a part 2 of this, guys, so grab a blanket, turn off your lights, and get ready for 5 haunted locations. Ghost stories, please read. Hello, Horror Studio 1. Awesome work, great channel. Keep it up. I am a little awkward with telling my stories, so my apologies if some of the story does not make sense here. So, some background story so everyone can understand. My family suffered a house fire in February of 2009. I was pregnant at the time as well. Anyways, so I delivered my daughter on May 1st, 2009, and my parents bought a new home and we obtained possession and moved in 8 days later. The house was a basement suite with stairs inside and a concrete staircase outside. My ex-boyfriend, I, and my daughter had a kitchen and bathroom and everything downstairs. Moving on, I was approximately 6 months pregnant with my second daughter when this event happened. About 7 to 8 months after we moved in, my mom went out of town to visit my dad in northern Alberta. We live in southern British Columbia, so my ex-boyfriend and I and our daughter had a full range of the house. I invited my best friend over at the time to watch a ton of horror movies together. I am an empathic psychic, but I block my sight off, so I have had some odd occurrences in this house already, such as rocking horses turning on at 3 a.m., my daughter waking up screaming at 3:20 a.m. every single day for weeks on end, and constantly getting locked out of the house when I would have a smoke. We watched Paranormal Activity and thought it would be a smart idea to try the baby powder trick, to see if there would be anything in the baby powder due to the paranormal events from before. So, we put baby powder in front of all our beds on the floor, the 2 cribs, the countertops, in all the doorways, etc. We even placed some in the middle of each stair going upstairs. We had just enough room to place 1 foot on each side of the stair without touching the baby powder, so we wait approximately 4 to 5 hours. So now it's around 2 a.m. in the morning. My friend goes downstairs first, then myself, then my ex-boyfriend. I start filming, and we all investigate what is in the baby powder. You guys might think I'm lying, but I have the original mini VHS tape from the recording as well. But in the baby powder, there was scratches in the bathroom, on the counter by the taps, in all the doorways, along the kitchen counter in 3 big long lines. Written in front of my daughter's crib was, "Ha ha ha," written in the baby powder. In sharp, "We freaked and nope the fuck out of there." My ex-boyfriend and best friend left me behind as I try not to touch the baby powder on my way upstairs while I'm wailing because of my pregnant belly. As I finally reach the top steps, I turn around with the camera. All I could see right in front of my own fucking eyes was the hoof prints making its way up the stairs, 4 stairs behind me. Let's say we did not sleep that night. I called a Catholic father to come into my house to do a blessing. He did the main floor okay. Wasn't a complaint until we took him downstairs. Turned white as a ghost. Sprayed holy water as he barely chanted prayers, and ran out faster than he came in. It was a very scary experience, and I would love to say that this was one of the first or the last, but that is just not the case. Don't ever do anything to communicate or provoke an evil entity or demon without training or an ability. Please. Ghost Story. Hi, I'm a female subscriber of yours and I watched all of your videos as soon as I found your channel. I wanted to share this experience of mine forever, and now that I have a chance, here it is. It happened when I was about 13 years old. It was during the summer and I'd always be outside playing with my siblings and cousins, who were often over to visit. As usual, I was running down the street chasing one of my cousins, and she outran me until she was out of sight. I slowed down to walk slowly when I got tired of running, and as I was walking, I looked at the houses I passed by, and then I saw a small black cat, so I stopped to pet it and took a look at the house. It was a small abandoned house on the ground floor. It had a garden, and the outer wall I stood by had small, sharp black iron poles that I assumed were to keep people from climbing into it. It was clear that the place had been abandoned for a while, and I saw how it was sealed shut by metallic blinds that made it impossible to enter the house. I turned my attention to the cat and was just watching as it walked out into the garden. A manly voice made me jump in surprise. I gasped softly as I heard a man say in a very low and hateful voice, "What are you doing here?" I looked in its direction, and right there in front of the house sat two men on two chairs, and they were smoking. I stood there, throat dry, and stared at them in shock and disbelief. Where the hell did they come from? They weren't there a second ago. Both of them wore white, long robes, which was usual where I lived at the time, and had long black beards. They looked pale. Their hair was messy, and eyes had black circles as if they had not slept in a while, but other than that, there was nothing strange about them. Nothing that made them look like ghosts. It still startled me to see them there. The man spoke again, in a harsh tone, almost yelling, "Get out of here! Now!" I looked into his eyes, and the anger was clear in them, but he was just sitting there looking relaxed and unconcerned. I slowly started to walk away, dread washing through me in waves that made me cringe and shake. After a few minutes, as I realized what happened, I started running and running without looking back, until I found my cousins. I never told them what happened. I never told anyone because I come from a family of pure skeptics. It was one of the scariest things I've ever gone through, and I don't think I'll ever be able to forget it. I hope the story is good enough. My ghost story. Firstly, let me start by saying that I don't want to mention any real names and I want to stay anonymous. I enjoy the channel, keep it up. I'll start by giving you some background information about myself. I work for a large company that is based in London. My job is as a security guard, but as I work for a private company that only deals in night guard duties. My basic tasks are to sit inside a booth and monitor cameras. The booths are basically metal containers that have been converted as a makeshift room and has a setup of monitors. As you can imagine, it is very boring and long hours. A few years ago, I was sent from the company to be a part of a two-man night guard posting to a very old asylum that was located outside of London. I started my shift like always at 10 p.m. at night, and by 10:30 the other guard showed up. He introduced himself as Mike and I introduced myself. Mike told me that he had been posted at the asylum for the past 2 days, and I was a replacement for his partner who had refused the night shift. At the time, I didn't think much of it, as it was common knowledge that not everyone liked nights. The asylum was very old. The interior was damaged. The best description I can give of it is of a very small hospital. We were stationed on the ground floor. The first and second floor were all locked up. Where we set up with the monitors, where the old receptions area was to our right, was a small corridor that led to small rooms. In front was a very old waiting room with broken benches. The windows were very large, but had been boarded up from inside due to vandalism. We had set up cameras all around the building outside, so we didn't have to keep walking outside the building. There were another 2 cameras inside, one facing the area where we were, and one on the other end of the corridor, where the rooms where it was. In this room, this camera that I noticed, one of the room doors was open. It occurred to me that maybe earlier I had left it open as I was checking where the bathroom was, so I got up to go check it. There obviously was no electricity throughout the building, so I picked up one of the 2 large silver flashlights and turned it on and made my way down the corridor. Shutting the door, I turned and took a minute looking around, and there were satanic symbols spray painted all over the walls and doors. Broken glass littered the floors. These places attract all sorts of lunatics and homeless people. I always wondered how they could stay in these places. I was lost in my thoughts, but was abruptly brought back when I looked back. The door stood wide open. I hadn't even heard it open. Shrugging it off like anyone would, I closed it and went back to reception, and Mike was already at the monitors when I got back. He never said anything, so I just sat behind him and put my chair back to rest for a bit. Normally, time can seem to last longer when you're bored, but for some strange reason, I seemed to be very active and alert. Maybe the door had kind of rattled me. So at 2:30 a.m., Mike started to check his packed food, so he wanted to eat. I covered the monitors while he ate. The system we use is a 2-way security feed, so the company also can check the cameras at any time, and we received a call from head office saying that the feed had gone off, and to check it, we had mistakenly removed any wires or cables. After checking, we reported that all seemed well. They told us to contact them within the next hour. My eye caught the corridor camera, and I nearly had a friggin' heart attack. All the doors of the room were open. I could have sworn I was beginning to get a headache. "Mike," I said, "these doors are open." He looked up from his food, and without even looking at the monitor, he just said that I should leave the monitors to him, and I could have my dinner. No, I paused for a moment. Then I did what he said. Mike returned after closing the doors, then sat in front of the monitors. We spent the next few minutes talking about the job, and the other staff, only cut off by the running of the phone, which Mike answered. I went onto the monitors as Mike went outside for a smoke. I sat back in the chair and just randomly went through the cameras. I stopped at one with Mike, who stood outside the main door, while a woman stood next to him. I was about to change the camera when I noticed the woman had her back to Mike and was actually looking at the camera. And I noticed her clothes. There was something about the clothes. It seemed like a very old type of dress. I didn't even realize I was shouting, "Mike!" And Mike came running in. We rewinded the tape, and the woman was clearly showing, and Mike was rubbing his head. He swore there was no one with him and could not explain this woman or where she had gone. We checked the bathrooms and all over, but no sign of this woman, and she had just disappeared. And Mike had locked the main door. She could not have gone out. I tried forgetting the incident, but I felt that uneasy feeling when you know something is not right, and you don't know what it is. My shift finally ended, and I went home and did all I could to forget that night and location. 6 months later, I was speaking to one of our senior company owners, and he told me that the company had quit the contract due to no security guard lasting over a day. They would all complain of weird shadows and doors opening. When he mentioned that, I felt chills. I pushed further, and he told me that all the senior level guards knew the place was haunted. The reason being, a UK paranormal TV show had talked about it. It was the most haunted one they'd done on the show, and in actual fact, it's considered to be one of the most haunted places in all of UK. I got speaking to Mike on Facebook, and we spoke about that night, and he told me that I didn't know half of it. He claimed that he had intentionally kept me off monitors, as he had witnessed doors opening and closing and seen shadows behind corners and even children running past the cameras. When I think back, I realized that Mike had not let me watch a lot of footage on the camera recordings, and I kept me sitting most of the night in one spot. Mike had kind of saved me from maybe dying of fright. My ghost story. Hello, I just saw your video about needing ghost stories. I have one, but it's not about woods like you asked. But if you need a school or bathroom story, I have one. And here it is. You can even reword it if you want because I never had time to proofread it. But keep the facts because they're all true. So, this story takes place in my primary school. A bit of background information about my school is that it was about 72 years old in one bit and 77 in bit 2, so it was really old. For those that don't know, primary schools in Glasgow go from P1 4 to 5-year-olds to P7 11 to 12-year-olds. Glasgow is a pretty busy city, but I live in an emptier suburb. So, in my school, there were rumors about a ghost girl named Natasha, who haunted the school, and people had countless accounts of seeing Natasha mainly in the P2 to 7 girls' toilet. She was apparently an ex-student whose boyfriend had dumped her. She ran into the girls' toilets and smashed a mirror, and one of the pieces went into her eye, and the other had killed her. Everybody knew of this story, and I mean everybody. I have seen her twice in thoughts, 7 years at that school. The first time I saw her was in P2, so I was about 7 years old. I had gone to the toilet during class, and for some reason, we had the rolls of toilet paper outside the cubicle at the end of the wee corridor thing. And I just finished doing the toilet and was washing my hands when one of the pieces of the toilet roll fell and rolled and floated down the corridor thing, which is pretty weird in itself, as the door was closed and the window could not open. But what was even weirder was that it floated down the corridor, all toilets flushed, and the sinks turned on. I ran out of there terrified, but as I ran out the door, I made the mistake of looking back. I saw a semi-transparent girl about 12 years old. The age Natasha was rumored to be dressed in her school uniform, but with a lilac tinge in her skin. She was bleeding and chasing me. I never went into those toilets in class time again. This next bit, I was P7, so me and my friends were 11. Our friend who was in secondary gave us a ghost summoning spell in which her grandma gave her. I still remember every bit of it. You were to stand in a circle holding hands with your eyes closed when the person you want to summon died and repeat the words, "Somac Sosin, my ghost friend, Somac red blood come," and finish with the name of the person you wanted to summon, and repeat it 3 times. So me and my friends decided that on Halloween, it would be fun to summon the same girl that I saw when I was 7. For a few weeks before we gathered all the versions we knew of the Natasha story and worked out where she would have died. So at lunch, on Halloween, we all waited until it was only the 6 of us left in the toilets, and we performed the ritual. As soon as we finished, there was a sharp, piercing scream. I knew it was none of us. We all screamed when we heard it. All the taps and the toilets went on just like they did when I was 7. We all sprinted out of there, none of us looking back. Well, all except for the oldest of us, who later described seeing a girl exactly like the one I saw all those years ago. And most unsettling is that she could not have been lying about the girl's appearance, as I had never told them the story until after that. I had no other experiences with Natasha, but I visit the school often, and the last day of term. Natasha, let's never meet again. Hello. I grew up in a small city in the Metro Detroit area of Michigan. When I was a child, let's say around the ages of 9 or 10, I always used to sleep with my bedroom door open. My house was a little older and could be creepy at night, but up until this point, nothing ever happened to make me believe ghosts or demons were anything more than just an irrational fear I had. So on this night, I had fallen asleep at the usual time around 10:30, which was bedtime for me and my 2 younger sisters, whose room were across from mine. To describe the area in which the events take place, my hallway was set up as a more pentagon shape. That is to say, the closest was one corner, then the bathroom, next my room, then my grandfather's room, and finally my sister's room. This puts my sister's room directly in view from my doorway, which I have a clear view of from a laying down position in my bed. So on this night, I awake from my sleep at just past 2 a.m., as I can see on the glowing red digital numbers of my alarm clock radio. However, I had awoke with a sense of panic, as if just waking up from a nightmare, although I had not had one. As I sit up in bed, I can feel something is awake, something is staring at me, and as I look into the hall towards my sister's room, I noticed a small dark shadow. At first, I mistake it to be the laundry hamper, as it is about the same height, and my eyes have yet to make out more detail in a dark hallway. However, as I focus, I begin to see a human figure. My mind is racing. I know it cannot be my younger cousin, as he has not stayed with us, yet it is too short to be anyone else in my family. I start to make out small bumps on its head, not horns, but small bumps where horns should be, and then it moves. It takes a side step to its right, and I am instantly paralyzed with fear. Up until this point, I could move freely, which throws sleep paralysis out the window. I try to scream, but nothing comes out, and then I hear it, the loudest thing I've ever heard. A voice with a heavy British accent begins yelling, "Hello, hello, hello, hello!" over and over, so loudly and quickly it seemed to be an overlapping, and the shadow demon silhouette child thing takes a step in my direction. Then I blacked out. My grandfather comes out of his room, and I'm standing on my bed screaming. This is the next thing I remember. No idea how I got in this position. He asked if I'm okay, and I ask him, "Did you hear that?" All he replies is, "All I heard is you screaming." I shut my door and eventually fall back asleep. I don't believe I told anyone what really happened for a long time. Although I began to read the Bible and pray every night before bed for a while. I also never slept with my door open again till this day, almost 20 years later. As for what the demon was, some people have suggested the Nain Rouge or Red Dwarf, which is a legendary creature that according to Michigan folklore appears before disasters happened. And as for the voice yelling, "Hello," I'm not sure if it was the demon speaking to me, or perhaps a guardian angel protecting me from it. I swear this story is 100% true.